I have never been outside the United States. I would love to travel, but I haven't been able to do that. So, but part of it's because I'm broke, so I can't do it. So,
I don't even have a bank account.
oh, wow. But you got free healthcare, so that's kind of a trade-off, right?
Well, it's like subsidized healthcare. The insurance is paid by the government, at least the cheap level insurance.
Oh, okay.
And you have to get insurance.
Hmm?
You have to get insurance.
Oh, okay.
But they have like so-called eigen risico payments which you have to make in order to teach you how to handle risks and discourage dangerous activities. So up to a certain level, you have to pay everything yourself, and only then the insurance kicks in.
Wow. Okay. I did
so
not know.
Even though I've gone to the doctor multiple times in the last few years, I've never gotten any money from the insurance. I've only paid them more.
Oh my God. Wow, that's
well. It's better than in the US, but it's not perfect. Yeah. It's a lot less good than it was a decade ago.
I got you. Well, I would like to see a more nationalized healthcare system here, but unfortunately, yeah, we have to have a revolution in order for that to happen. So, Zeno, when you're from the Netherlands and you reached out, you wanted to discuss the Dutch elections and about what has been happening over there. Can you give us a little bit of a rundown of what has been happening in Netherlands and why it is so important?
Yes. In the past, there were 3 large parties in the Netherlands: a Labour Party, which was somewhat like the American People's Party.
Mm-hmm.
There was a centrist Christian Democratic Party and a right-wing free market liberal party.
Mm-hmm.
The Labour Party and the Christian Democrats used to compete with one another for the prime ministership.
Mm-hmm.
And the free market liberals sometimes played the role of kingmaker. But for the last while, the liberals have skyrocketed in popularity under
Mm-hmm.
their most recent leader, Mark Rutte.
Mm-hmm.
And they have had a monopoly on the prime ministership for, well, as long as I can consciously remember. When I was young, the Christian Democrats still had a prime minister. And they at first they privatized a lot, and they attacked the welfare state and things like that. But later on, the unpopularity of such policies drove them to reverse some of their earlier positions.
Mm-hmm.
And really, since the very start of the liberal dominance in Dutch politics, there has been a counter movement, mainly of various, mostly right-wing populist persuasions.
Mm-hmm.
First, there was Pim Fortuyn. He is sometimes being compared to Trump, but he was assassinated in 2002 by one of his opponents. He was really a lot better than Trump. He had plans to, for example, work with countries in India and Africa to improve their economic development.
Mm-hmm.
My lighting is level. He had plans to nationalize some industries. He had plans to cut bureaucracy and introduce much more direct democracy. He came from the anarchist movement before he became a more moderate populist voice. So he has often been characterized as a right-wing populist, but he was really more of a centrist populist. He was himself gay, and he was very pro-gay rights, and he took some more traditionally left-wing stances.
Mm-hmm. I've never heard of a centrist populist before. That's a new one.
Yeah. His movement was really quite unique. He came from like an entire movement of similar centrist populist figures who mostly came from the left and then shifted towards the center and then ultimately to the right.
Yeah.
Uh, but after that, those politics never calmed down. We remained divided in all kinds of very small parties. And today,
Mhm.
there are, in the last election, there were here, I have my notes here, I don't remember it. Uh,
I'm sorry.
there were, I think, 16 parties elected to the Senate.
16.
Yes, I counted them here, but I maybe I counted one twice.
Wait. Hold on. You're talking to somebody in the United States. We have two parties here in the United States, and really, to us, they're only one party, and you have 16.
Yeah, but they are like in Germany, like in Britain, and in the United States. They're all very moderate. There's relatively little uh, true opposition in the country, as compared to, for example, France, where both the right wing and the left wing have very large coalitions, very important challenges to Macron. Mélenchon almost got in the runoff against Macron, and the polls implied that he would have won against Macron in France if he got in the runoff. There's nothing near that level of opposition here. They're mostly small variants, subvariants of the same ideologies that,
Mhm.
like the factions, the caucuses in the United States, except that
Mhm.
they are all officially independent parties.
Yeah, the Democratic Party here in the United States is actually a what we would call a center right party. So there really is no truly left party in the United States unless you count the third parties like maybe the Green Party, the PSL, Socialist Alternative. They are the left wing, but not they're not major parties here in the United States, and so they they are not represented in our government at all. If you look at our representatives, if you look at our Senate, that is not represented at all. You may see a few in state elections and municipal elections, but they're sprinkled throughout. But that's how it is here in the United States. Um, and so you have what they call big tent party, which they call like to call the Democratic Party, when in reality, um, it's really just center right.
Yeah, yeah. I read once in an article about comparison between European and American politics that the Democrats
Mm-hmm.
align roughly in their policy positions with our right-wing free market party, the VVD,
Yeah.
and they
So
were considered. They used to be considered the most right-wing voice in the country for
wow.
uh, before the rise of right-wing populism and more radical voices.
Okay. Speaking of parties, you're part of the Communist Party of the Netherlands, correct?
Yes, I am a member of the Communist Party of the Netherlands. The new Communist Party of the Netherlands specifically.
Oh, the new
There
communist.
are a couple other communist organizations. I'm also a part of a party called the Socialists, which is
Mm-hmm.
also a communist party or an attempt at a communist party, or uh, not explicitly a communist party, but they also have some democratic socialists, some anarchists, and similar such people.
Okay.
But the majority of them in the actual adults party are some variation of Marxist Leninist, I believe. And
Okay.
in the youth movement, there are more Trotskyite like voices.
Okay. So, as far as the movement that's going on in Netherlands, how is the movement going there? Is there a lot of activity on the ground with regards to the new Communist Party in Netherlands, or is it kind of stagnant in any way?
Uh, Now, they have one public representative on a municipal council, the county level administration. It's actually not very far from here where I am. There are a couple counties over.
Mm-hmm.
He's called Ritze Visser. He's the longest sitting public representative in Dutch history, I believe. He has been on the council for, I believe, 52 years.
Wow.
And they keep electing him. But he is personally so popular that he gets elected. It's not his party that gets elected. When he dies, and it can't be very long until that happens, he won't do another 50 years. Then they will lose their only seat. And they used to have 3 more seats, but they voted for a reform that abolished 2 of those 3, and then the last one split off from the party. So now we have 2 communist parties, each of which have only 1 representative, and they each took about half of the membership, so they are split almost 50-50 across the entire movement.
But my question is, why 2 different communist parties? Like, what is the difference between them?
Ideologically, they are pretty much identical, what I can see, but they go around accusing each other of being fake communists. The United Communist Party said
All right, I'm done. I'm done. It literally sounds like the United States. It sounds just like here in the West, because you have some that will be accusatory, that will go, oh, well, you guys aren't real. You guys aren't real. You guys aren't real socialists. You guys aren't the real left. And my thing is, like, if you have 2 parties that essentially have the same ideology, that run on the same things, why not just coalesce together and move forward together?
Yeah. And the worst thing is that they used to be 1 party, and now they can't see face to face at all. But one is called the United Communist Party. It's only active in 1 province, actually in the east of 1 province mostly, Groningen, which was historically part of the heartland of left-wing politics in the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
And the Amsterdam branch, the leading branch, which has no representatives at all, they voted in favor of municipal reforms, which would abolish 1 of the constituencies where they held 2 seats. So they would lose those seats, and they would get only in the new merged municipality, they would get only 1 seat instead of 2 and 1 in the other constituency. So they would lose 2/3 of their seats. And the Amsterdam branch also voted for building a new city somewhere in that area, which many local people are opposed to. And eventually the project was cancelled. And the Communist Party didn't really contribute to that project. It were more mainstream parties which came up with it. But over those 2 issues, the party split, or at least that's what I've read about it. There's very little material about it. And all the people, about half of the membership living in Groningen, created their own party. But I might be expelled from the new Communist Party for saying this.
We don't want you getting expelled from any place. Oh no. Oh gosh. But yeah, this reminds me of the United States. And from what I've observed, there's actually an article that I wanted to share that you can probably speak on. But there was some recent elections. This is out of Politico. It says Dutch pro-farmers party wins big in provincial elections. And just to remind the audience, there was a report that was talking Actually, I think Savvy Sass was talking about it. How Dutch farmers were literally protesting their government because they wanted to put a cap on nitrogen, uh, nitrogen pollution, in basically coming from Dutch farms. And the Dutch farmers were upset. They were angry, and they were taking their tractors out into the streets, uh, putting manure on government buildings. This was a very huge referendum, and they won pretty big in their provincial elections. It says the farmer friendly Farmer Citizen Movement, or the BBB, landed a major victory in Wednesday's Dutch provincial elections, which determined the composition of the Senate. And from what I've learned recently is that the Senate is actually the upper chamber of the government. So when the Senate makes a decision, it's more significant than even your House of Representatives. Correct?
No, it's the second chamber is the name of our House of Representatives.
Mm-hmm.
It writes all laws, and it has to approve. A majority of us members have to approve any law that's introduced. Then the Senate,
Mm-hmm.
they have to approve the law also, but they can't edit it. They can't write any laws. They only have the option of accepting or rejecting, and they can criticize it, but they can't make a binding decision on its content, only to veto it or let it pass. But the criteria they have to make a constitutional justification for their decision. So if they don't have a reason, if they don't have a constitutional principle which they can use to strike a law down, then the law cannot be vetoed. So they really only have the power of constitutional review, but they do need to approve every law that's passed in the country.
Okay. Thank you
Our
for.
courts don't have the power of constitutional review, unlike American courts.
Got it. Got it. So back to the article. One of the things that is interesting is that while this party, the Farmer Citizen Movement, is substantial in its more grassroots revolt or rebellion against what the government was doing, they are more of a populist right. It's more of a populist right party that is against this overreach that they feel is happening from the Dutch government.
Yes, it's many of they won. The political article says they were projected to win 15 seats, but after in North Holland, they recounted, or it took a while for them to finish counting at least, and it went up to 17 seats projected, which makes them the largest party in the entire Senate.
Wow. And so they only had 1%. Was it in 2021?
In they only had, I believe they only won one seat out of 150. This is 17 out of 75 in the Senate. In the last election, they only won 1 out of 150 in the in our equivalent of the House of Representatives.
Okay. Wow. That's a huge jump. And from it is a relatively new party, is it not?
Yeah, the last Senate elections, they didn't even exist. They had 0 seats in the Senate because they weren't around back then. So they made a massive jump from no senators at all to 17 senators. And it was really quite surprising to me and to a number of people I know, because the protests, which have launched them into prominence, have died down relatively of late. So we thought, I and one of my more politically involved friends thought that Jij 21, another newcomer, would win
Mm.
much more than they actually got, and BBB would have to share their vote with them. But Jij 21 went to win only very few votes. Well, they won 3 seats. That's still quite significant, but not as many as we expected.
But my question is, what is the new Communist Party in Netherlands? What are they doing to try to repeat the same results? Or are they getting out there on the ground and really trying to uh, talk to the people and provide movements as far as seeing seeking what the people's needs are and building on that? Are they doing anything like that?
Not that I know, no. I don't think they are really doing all that much. I know that there is a branch of the Communist Youth Movement in our city,
Hmm.
but they've never contacted me, even though I'm a member of their adult branch. And
They never contacted you, even though you're a member.
yeah, no, I'm a member of the adult party, but they of the adult branch. But uh, the youth movement, they didn't seem to like me or something. I've contacted them, but they don't want me to participate something. I have no idea why, but they really don't seem up to very much, anyways. Except that they, after I couldn't get involved with the communist youth movement, I joined another group called the Socialists,
Hmm.
which was only officially created 1st of January this year. And the communist youth movement sometimes destroys our posters or puts stickers over our stickers.
It sounds like you have two factions on the left that are really in competition with each other instead of working with each other.
Yeah, well, there are a lot more than two.
Yeah, but what do you think could be a way that they can come together or coalesce around one another in order to really fight for the people? Because I mean, granted, um, solidarity with a lot of the farmers, but at the same time, it's
Yeah,
still
but
wanting. I mean,
the,
do they
the
still not want to? Do they still want to work within a capitalist system? Because despite what many people who consider themselves progressive here in the United States, I mean, yeah, the Netherlands is socially, they consider it socially democratic, but it's definitely still capitalist country.
yeah the left wing in the Netherlands has very little sympathy for the farmers because our farmers are they're capitalist farmers, and that most of them employ foreign workers, mostly from Poland, to do most of the work on their farms, and they are more business managers. Even though they also do farming themselves, many, and some spend most of their time doing farming.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them are also business owners, and so there's very little sympathy from most of the left. Many have explicitly condemned the farmers' protest. I
Mm-hmm.
personally don't support farmers, but I oppose the government policy against which they are protesting. So even if they're people I don't necessarily agree with,
Mm-hmm.
I will still work together on them on this protest.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Uh, but the farmers, the farmer citizen movement is the name of the party, or BBB in Dutch, an abbreviation for Boer-Burgerbeweging,
Mm-hmm.
which means farmer citizen movement. they won they won a massive victory, but mostly at the cost of other right-wing populists, and mostly at the cost of they are not actually anti-war, they are not actually opposed to most of the policies of the government. For example, they still want many of the measures against the farmers to continue, only to be implemented with more respect towards the farmer. And so while they have some populist appeal, they're the most moderate populist party in the country, and they won most of their seats at the expense of more anti-war, more, well, in many ways superior populist voices. Forum for Democracy, which have also been involved a little, lost 10 of their 12 seats, and now they only have 2 seats. And many centrist Christian Democrat voters went over to the farmers because these are very stiff rural people who generally vote for the most moderate, kind of lame-sounding party, like the Christian Democratic Appeal, a very moderate and very lame-sounding party with policies that are as terrible as they sound. But many of them went over to the farmers now, because farmers are really also quite moderate, only they claim to represent the same rural voters that mostly voted for the Christian Democrats before. And so the Christian Democrats, there are three Christian Democratic parties in the country. A more left-leaning one called the Christian Union, which lost 2 of their 4 seats. A centrist one called the Christian Democratic Appeal, which lost 4 of their 9 seats. And a more right-wing fundamentalist, well, it's not even a Christian Democratic Party because they're just Christian fundamentalist. They lost 1 of their 2 seats, which is quite massive actually, because I believe since before World War II, they have held 2 seats consistently and never lost any of them.
Wow.
And now this is the first time they lost 1 of those seats.
Wow.
And the Christian Union and the Christian Democratic Appeal are part of the government. So they lost, together they lost 6 seats for the government. The Free Market Liberals lost 2 of their 12 seats. And the Social Liberals, they're called the more progressive, socially progressive liberals, lost 2 of their 7 seats. So now the coalition is in a, it's nowhere near strong enough to get lost through the Senate anymore. Well, these are projections. At least this is if everyone in the Electoral College, which has now been elected, will vote for the representative of their own party. But mainly, this election represented a shift from Christian Democrats and from right-wing anti-war, anti-lockdown, right-wing populists towards these more moderate farmer populists. And on the left, the Labour left has correspondingly lost 1 seat. The Socialist Party, which had 4 seats, and which was, at least it used to be a truly anti-establishment, truly populist Labour Party. It lost 1 seat, and the Party for the Animals, which is an animal rights and green party, gained 1 seat.
Okay.
They now have 4 seats. The Socialist Party now has 3 seats.
Wow.
And the Party for the Animals, they, apart from championing animal rights and environmentalism, they also support taking back a lot of sovereignty from the European Union and reintroducing our national currency. So they are anti-establishment. They are outside of the mainstream, but they are they aren't focused on labor issues, and they aren't focused on systemic critiques of the system, unlike the left-wing populists and to a lesser extent some right-wing populists. The
Mm-hmm.
right-wing populists here now call themselves the system opposition rather than the policy opposition,
Mm-hmm.
because they say that they are the only ones who make systemic critiques of the current system. But the Party for the Animals is just a very radical environmentalist party, and because the right wing won big on anti-environmentalism, they gained moderately at the expense of the labor left for their environmentalist message.
Mm. Wow. There was a comment that I found very interesting. I would like to get your thoughts on it. This is from Nick O. Nick says the Dutch intelligence services have a well-known history of infiltrating their leftist groups. I wouldn't be surprised if their inter-communist socialist infighting is a result of it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I read a report from like 1999 or something about so-called left-wing extremism.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, by the intelligence service, where they said it was a threat and that it had to be combated somehow, but they didn't go into detail on what they were going to do. But
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did some infiltrating and some sabotering, some if they created some chaos historically in our movement and were
Mm-hmm.
responsible for some of the splitting tactics.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they are involved in the current split. I would suspect they're not, because the party only got, I believe, 10,000 votes across the entire country before the
Mm-hmm.
split. And then they split into one which got 5,000 and another one which also got 5,000 votes. So the Communist Party was not a threat. So,
Well,
so
that's
they don't have to split it.
oh, okay. That's different here because some of our people who were leading movements were assassinated in the United States. So, yeah, it's definitely a lot more involvement here in the United States. So, yeah. But there was a video that I also wanted to share. You've probably seen this, on your news feed, but I found this to be I kind of wish that the left here in the United States did things like this, but they're too timid. But this is a video. And they're saying that we can learn from the Dutch. So here it is. So as you can see here, there's police along the front lines, and they are getting manure landing on the Dutch police. Just take it in, everybody. Just
Yeah, this was a very famous
What?
moment, I believe.
Why can't and if here's the thing, and a lot of times we will say that, why can't we in the United States do things like this? And one thing that a lot of people are revealing here in the United States versus in the Netherlands is that your police respect the citizens a little bit more. Or am I wrong about that?
Well, perhaps, I don't know. I've only once really come into contact with a policeman that's not family of mine. One of my extended family members is a police commissioner. But apart from him, I have only ever once come into contact with police, and it was when I was hit by a car when I was driving back from home on my bicycle, and there was a policeman standing right next to it, and he saw all of it. There was this woman who passed straight through a stop sign then hit me with her car. And they started yelling at me that I was like a bastard or something. And the woman just backed up and drove around me, which is a felony. And he just stood there and did nothing. That's all my experience with police. I do know from some of the people who went to more protests that there has been some quote heavy fighting end quote. But from the description it seemed that they had initiated the violence and not the police.
Mm-hmm.
It might be that our police is generally more timid than the American ones.
Mm. So, what would be some of the things that you would like to see as a change, especially with the new Communist Party and other communist parties in Netherlands? What type of changes would you want to see happen among the left in Netherlands?
Wait a second, I will make some more light.
Mm-hmm. Lighting is very important.
It was getting dark outside.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to mute my mic.
No, you're okay. So, what type of
What is the
change
question?
would you like to see within the left in the Netherlands? More. What more changes would you like to see?
Well, currently there's a major change happening in the Netherlands, not just on the left. That's an adoption of more American-style woke identity politics,
Mm-hmm.
and I would like to see that stop, because I don't think it's useful if you try to unionize a workplace that you're canceling half of the employees,
Mm.
because it are almost always workers, normal people, who get
Mm-hmm.
cancelled because they are the easiest target. You can't easily cancel Jeff Bezos and expect him to be hurt by it, but you can cancel some random guy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I would like to see that stop,
Mm.
and instead more of a focus on labor issues. And in general, in all the time that I've been with the socialists, at least with their local branch, the Groningen branch is better, but the local branch in Friesland has. They only once talked about labor. They only once used the word labor. And it was when they talked about the Labour Party, another party, an establishment social democratic party.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they only talked about identity politics and not about labor issues. And they didn't talk about socialism either, even though they're called the socialists.
Mm.
I would like to see them adopt more of an active reaching out towards the workers and not just saying the government is bad, but this is our alternative, this is our plan.
Mm. Okay.
And I would like to see the left reach out more towards right-wing populists and towards people who and work together with people who are also anti-war or are also in favor of direct democracy.
Mm.
Because Forum for Democracy
Mm-hmm.
is in favor of they called Forum for Democracy because they were created initially to get direct democracy implemented, binding ballot initiative type actions by the people.
Mm-hmm.
And the previous party which championed that, the Social Liberals, the socially progressive free market liberal party,
Mm-hmm.
they voted to abolish advisory referendums. Even though they had fought for it for decades, they finally realized it, they did one, referendum, one plebiscite, and they then voted to abolish them immediately after because they didn't get the result they wanted. They got the result that most Dutch people did not want to sign the EU association treaty with Ukraine and get
Mm-hmm.
more involved with Ukraine.
Mm.
And D66 is the most pro-European integration party, and they're some of the most eager to get more involved with this war now. But this was already this was when the Crimea stuff was going on,
Mm-hmm.
I believe,
Wow.
and the previous so-called direct democracy party betrayed its entire principles and voted
Mm.
to abolish the only direct democracy we had. And so the right-wing populists took up the torch, and it passed from from the centrists to the right. And I think we should appeal to the dissatisfaction and to the desire for more agency and more influence over the course of their lives that's so appealing to people in direct democracy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also why I am involved with and why I talk with right-wing populists a lot.
Got it. Got it. It's important to move people over to and open people's eyes, to what is going on. A lot of times people cling to capitalism because that's what they were indoctrinated with throughout their entire lives. So yeah, I totally get it, dude.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the right-wing populists are now saying that they are making systemic critiques. That's the language they use. They say that it is systemic. That's normally what the left says, but now they copied it and they now have a monopoly on such language, on such rhetoric in the Netherlands.
So they're adopting left-wing language. Gotta be careful with that, because last time that happened, it happened in Italy years ago. Oh man, there was a guy named Mussolini that used left-wing language. Oh man. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I gotta be careful with that though. Um Man, this is all very interesting to see, especially how when you, because I live, I'm here in, you know, you think the more things are different, the more they actually are the same, here versus over there. It's just we have less parties.
Yeah, it's one thing that I think is important to note
Mm-hmm.
is that Forum for Democracy and the so-called Freedom Party, these are two right-wing populist parties. The
Yep.
Freedom Party is a national conservative party,
Mm-hmm.
a kind of paleo-conservative type nationalist. They say that the Netherlands is, quote, the greatest country in the world, end
Mm-hmm.
quote. And they are very distinct from the Forum for Democracy, which does not say that the Netherlands is the greatest country in the world, which appeals to Forum for Democracy, says that it is not trying to appeal exclusively to the right or exclusively implement a right-wing agenda, but bring people together around primarily the causes of anti-war, anti-authoritarianism, and direct democracy.
Wow.
So these are two very distinct trends, and in other countries, for example, in the Trump movement, you see people who are very dissatisfied with the way that they're being shut out of politics, but also people who are very nationalist and very chauvinistic.
Got it.
In the Netherlands, those two are separate, and I think that Forum for Democracy has many supporters who in Britain would support the Workers' Party, or who in France would support Mélenchon and such left-wing populist voices.
Mm-hmm.
And many of the voters came from historically from the left, from the Labour Party or from the Socialist Party.
Wow. Well, we know a little bit more now about what's going on in the Netherlands than we did before. I want to thank you for coming in and teaching us a little bit more about what has happened with Dutch politics there. And thank you so very much for joining, me, Zeno. Just a question though, is, where can people follow you and your work?
I've created a YouTube channel, but there's nothing on it yet.
Oh, okay. I got you.
It's called Renaissance Report, or Renaissance Report, if you will, in English. A name chosen explicitly to appeal more to right-wing populist voices. Because if they hear that you do the word Renaissance, they think that you're a right-wing populist.
Kind of flying under the radar, I see.
There's nothing on it yet, so I don't think people can find it because it's not public yet.
I got you.
But that's where you can find any clips from the stream that I will upload, any future videos, and I would like to ask your permission to take some clips from the stream to upload on my own channel.
Oh, if you would like to, you can. Yeah, I'm fine with it. As long as we get to spread the word a little bit more, that's fine with me.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I will see you some other time.
All right. Thank you so much, Zeno. Take care. Have a good one.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.